Okay. Hello, everyone. I think we can start and you all can hear me. So this is today's topic. What we will try to cover is these are the different kind of anti-patterns we are trying to cover. Like anti-patterns from this, what is we are expecting from a Scrum Master, what they are doing. Similarly, what we are expecting from a product owner role, but what the exactly product owner understood and what they are doing. Then developers, and then the whole Scrum team. As a team, what we supposed to do, but what we misunderstood and doing. And then there are a couple of other anti-patterns with stakeholders or organization leadership. What we have, that's another section. So these are the topics which we are going to discuss today. And then last, we have an open discussions. If any one of you have any thoughts to clear to discuss, and if you want to share your feedback with your existing role, because I know a couple of you are QA managers or project managers or like are coming from a different leadership roles, right? So you might have a different kind of anti-patterns which you want to discuss. So we will try to discuss as well at the night. So first we will start with the Scrum Master role. I hope you all, because a couple of you are joining first time, so you're already aware of the Scrum roles, right? Scrum Master, Product Owner, and the development team. And the combination of these three roles is a Scrum team. So that's what different we are roles we are talking about. Let's start with the first anti-patterns of the Scrum Master role. This is I'm a leader, I am a master. You all have to follow my instructions. You all have to do what I defined as a process. This is what generally most of the people are having like assumptions from the role of Scrum Master. Any one of you feel the same thing where the Scrum Master is trying to just lead or each and every meetings and sessions or conversations? Any one of you feel the same thing?
Yeah, obviously.
Yes, we
This is
feel
pretty
when
common
your
actually.
manager is your Scrum Master.
Yes. So basically, this is what we are supposed to, I mean, what we will do during these kind of situations. So when you're wearing the hat, right, might be as you said, the project manager is playing the role of a Scrum Master. But when they are playing the role of a Scrum Master, then they should not wear the dual hat. Then at that time, they have to remove the hat of the project manager, and then they will be doing only what is supposed to expectation from the Scrum Master. Now, what is the expectation? Expectation from the Scrum Master is to behave as a facilitator during a ceremony. Either it's in a daily stand-up, either it's in a sprint planning, backlog refinement, or sprint review or retrospective. Scrum Master is always a facilitator in few situations where we are trying to do a discussions on some kind of a conflict resolutions. Then they are sometimes try to help us to figure out the solutions. Even they are not providing the solutions, they are just helping the team to identify the best solution or best approach. So that's the anti-patterns we have and how we should be come out of that anti-pattern. Then we have the second anti-pattern with the Scrum Master, where the Scrum Master says, I don't know the issue. That means I'm a Scrum Master, I don't have any technical knowledge, and that's why I will not go in the detail, and even I will not participate in the discussion. Now, what is the example of this time is, let's say there is a bug uh, uh, coming on any of the environment, and it's causing the team. Even there is a developer who's trying to fix that bug from like 2 days and 3 days, and he can't resolve it. Now he tried to set up a meeting with some senior developers or a relative person, might be a product owner or a business analyst who can help that developer to identify the actual scenario. Now, what generally Scrum Master says, okay, it's a problem, it's a technical issue. You can set up a meeting with another developer and you can do it. I will not participate in this meeting. If you have something more, more critical than that discussion or that bug, then definitely you can skip that part. But if you know the urgency of that bug, then the Scrum Master should participate in those discussions as well. He or she might, as they don't have a technical expectation, that's absolutely fine. But sometimes in some situations where two people are discussing on a very crucial or stuff, they need someone to guide to take a decision. At that time, the Scrum Master might help them, or even if the Scrum Master doesn't have the knowledge, at least they can route to the right person. Let's take an example for the same bug. Now they discuss, and there are two possible approach. There are two solutions, but because they both are the developers and it's an architect change, they can't take a decision. So what they will do, because this is a critical bug, either they will just blindly take one call and they will say, okay, I think this is the best approach. Let's implement this. But if there is a Scrum Master and if they have these kind of situations, then Scrum Master can say, now you both understand what are the solutions we have. Let's try to just align with our architect or any senior leader, technical leader, who can guide us which solution is really best for the future perspective of this technical part. So that's why we need a Scrum Master on those kind of a technical discussions as well. So there are multiple scenarios where how a non-technical person can also help in those technical discussions. So that's why if your Scrum Master says, I don't know the issue, I will not participate, these are the uh, points which you can discuss and you can just pull your Scrum Master in those discussions. Or if you are playing the Scrum Master role, why you should be participate on those technical discussions. So that's another anti-pattern which it's very common in the Scrum teams, which we have to be just understand and we should not repeat if you're playing a Scrum Master role. Anytime if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me and then we will do that. Because we have 45, almost 45 different kind of anti-patterns. So I will just going a slightly rough. That's why I'm recording. You can anytime just watch the recording. I will share, might be tomorrow or day after tomorrow. This is another anti-pattern we have from the Scrum Master roles, that you are responsive to me. Can anyone relate this anti-pattern? What it means?
Word responsive to me. Like expecting the team to constantly give them an update.
Yes, this is one of the case. Second case, if any of your team member have any leave plans, sick plans, or any 2 hours break or 3 hours break, few of the Scrum Master says, if you're going on these kind of thing, you should let me know. I will grant you the permission, then only you will take it. So you are responsive to me because I'm your Scrum Master. This is also one of the anti-patterns. Because if your Scrum Master is behaving in this way, that means he or she, they don't know what is the expectations from the Scrum Master role. The Scrum team, any Scrum team member is not responsive to Scrum Master. They are responsive to the whole team. So if I'm a developer of a Scrum team and if I'm going on a 3 hours break, I know first I have to identify, is there any critical thing where my team members are really expecting something from me? This 3 hour break might be blocking the development of my team. So in that case, I will just let the whole team know in any team channel, I'm not available from this time to this time. Like, let's take an example. I have a doctor appointment in the evening, so I might be not available in the second half. So what I can do in the morning itself, I can just put a note in my team channel. Guys, I have a doctor appointment from 3 in today's evening, so I might not available from 3 to 5. Now, if any of your team member who really needs your input, what they can do, they can just connect you before 3 o'clock because you're available. So that's how your whole team is know about your availability, or they know if you're not available 3 to 5, they can reach you out after 5 as well if something is not critical. So that's why it's not the Scrum Master responsibility, it's a team member's responsibility. So we should responsive to team, not responsive to one person, the Scrum Master. So that's another anti-pattern which we have. Yes, Neha?
So this may be an anti-pattern for a Scrum Master, but this is not an anti-pattern if you are a product manager, program manager, product manager. You're a manager to the team, because the leaves and availability needs to be approved and reviewed by the manager, right? So if I am
Yes.
playing the role of both, then it is an anti-pattern if I have been only been a Scrum Master, but because I am a project manager also, so in the same meeting, if somebody is asking me or telling me, then I am responding as a project manager and not doing an anti-pattern as a Scrum, right?
Yes, but again, it's a partially right. It's not completely right. See,
Okay.
if someone have a doctor appointment, they first of all they should not. We should not create that kind of environment where they
Mm.
need an approval,
No, no, no,
right?
no, no, no.
Yes.
But
So
what you said that
in a planned leave, yes.
planned
If
leave,
you're
yeah,
going on
yeah,
a planned leave or something, then definitely you need an approval. Like then they will check what is the impact on the team and something. But in case of this example, where even the project owner should not have that kind of mindset where they will say, why you booked that appointment? You should check with me and I will tell you when you can do that.
yeah.
If we have these kind of a mindset, that means we are not in a uh, right leadership path. The project manager really need to understand what is servant leadership, so they
Okay.
have to do those things. But yeah, I'm just talking about as a Scrum Master. Generally, Scrum Master have these kind of a when people are trying to play the role of a Scrum Master, where they are coming from any leadership kind of a role, right? What they understood is they understood Scrum Master means a manager, a project manager, or a team manager or something. We should not have that kind of understanding or expectation from a Scrum Master role. That's why this particular topic is an anti-pattern for a Scrum Master. See, next is I'm an Agile certificate certified. And even relate? What was this?
I don't have the experience, but with the statement, I do understand that boasting about your credibility without actually having an in-hand experience. Like, I know better because I'm certified attitude.
Yes. So that's again an anti-pattern when you are in some kind of a discussions where your team member is trying to suggest, or they trying to put themselves, or they are giving any kind of a suggestions. As a Scrum Master, as a certified person, you should not say, okay, I am a certified Scrum Master, so I know better than you what is a Scrum process and what has worked and what's up. So it's instead of telling me, you should follow what I'm saying and what Agile suggests. So these kind of culture is also harmful, and that's why this statement is also comes as an anti-pattern of a Scrum Master. It's fine, you might be a certified Scrum Master, but you doesn't qualify. I mean, if this statement doesn't qualify or the certificate doesn't qualify you to just uh, take a decision in each and every situation. If you really understand what is the course of the Scrum Master certificate, then you should understand a role of what is mentorship, what is coaching, what is leadership. They all comes under the Scrum Master role. So as a Scrum Master, never try to just glamorize themselves, or they put themselves ahead like we am a certified person and those kind of things. So that's another anti-pattern, and these are the very common anti-patterns you either you already face in your teams, or if not, if you're just new in the Agile world, you will definitely face in the future as well. So you should understand these things, and then anytime you can counter your Scrum Master, like this is not what Agile prescribed. This is a kind of an anti-pattern, and we should avoid these kind of a behaviors. Then we have this no retro required because we are doing good. What it means, you are doing a Scrum ceremonies for last 6 months. Your all the teams are doing very perfect. They are delivering 100% what they're committing back to back. The velocity is also outstanding. Your leadership also happy with the team's performance. So everything is good, going good. Now, if everything is doing good, why we need a retrospect? Let's try to skip this meeting. At least it will save 2 hours from each and everyone's time, and we can utilize those 2 hours to some real work. Why we need a retrospective? This attitude is also called an anti-pattern. Now, why this attitude is an anti-pattern? No matter at what level you are performing and you're doing, if you're delivering 100%, and if you're doing retrospective, then you will learn the ways how we can improve, how we can go from 100 to 120%. So each and every person, each and every team always have some room of improvement. So if you're doing retrospective in regular basis, no matter if you're doing continuously good or if you're doing bad, retrospective is a kind of a event which helps you and your team to improve. Or might be right now your team is doing good, perfect for the last 6 sprints or last 6 months, but might be there are certain points which team members are discussed in retrospective, which can cause your future performance. So you can just take an advanced precautionary step and you can avoid those things. So that's why retrospective is one of the ceremonies which we should not keep in the sprint, no matter how your team is performing. So if your Scrum Master says we are keeping this is also an anti-pattern. Then we have again, I'm a proxy product owner. I know a couple of you are aligned with this statement, right? My product owner is on leave, so I will be playing the product owner role. How many of you doing this or you face these things in your team?
I'm a proxy product owner.
And even no one face this proxy product owner?
As in, nobody comes up and say that I'm a proxy product owner. They just start being a product owner.
No, I personally have not come across, but I know like there are few teams who follow this. It's like where they try to fit in Scrum Master as product owners as well, because they've been into the company for many years, right? So they want to save on budget part as well. So
So what use is it? Is it a good practice? Is it a bad practice? Or it depends on company to company?
it
Uh,
see, if you say practice wise, there are a lot of things it's like you should not do, but what happens is like as long as things are going good, it's like people go by the flow. It's like because even some product owners, they would like to perform, for example, yeah, now I remember. It's like basically what happens is like in one of our projects, what they do is the product owner itself, he basically handles three Scrum. It's like he is more of a project manager, and then what happens is like sometimes due to because he is there in the company almost 10 years, so they want to use his experience on the product, and it's like they want him to perform both the roles.
why
It's
comes
a
as an anti?
win-win situation.
I mean, did anyone understand like why it's then now we are hearing about all the advantages.
No,
Now then why it's an
because
anti-pattern?
because why it's an anti-pattern is because see, it's like it's something like a developer and a tester. You can't get things done, things tested from a developer, because developer has developed whatever he has thought from his point of view. So whatever he has developed, he'll feel always it's good. He's right. So product owner also it's the same case, and product owner would always try to impose more task on the team because he has pressure from his peers, right? So uh, he
Okay.
can't
Why
he can't be, what do
this?
you say,
Okay. Why the proxy product owner comes as an anti-pattern for a Scrum Master? That's really important for all of us to understand. No matter either you're playing a Scrum Master role or a product owner or a future Scrum Master, the reason is both the roles are anti to each other. Now, why these are an anti? If you are wearing in a product owner role, you might have to add a new work. in the sprint, right? So this is the expectation from the product owner to prioritize the work. Now, what are the in this same scenario? What are the expectation from a Scrum Master? To just prevent your team so that your product owner will not add too much work in the same sprint. Now, how you can do two different roles at the same time, where you have one role suggests you have to do a prioritization of your sprint, another role suggests you have to prevent your team to just do too much scope changes in this. So it's very hard as one person to play the two different heads. Instead of the Scrum Master, if any of the team member is playing the product owner role, I think it's easier than the Scrum Master. The reason is at that time, that person might be an QA lead or a architect or a senior developer. If he, because they also have a very good business understanding. So they can, if they are playing the product owner role, they can say, okay, we got a new request from the stakeholder and we have to add a new story. Then the Scrum Master, if it's a different person, they can just quickly check with the team and they can evaluate and do that. So that's why if you are playing both the roles, I'm not saying it's impossible. A lot of companies are, as you suggest, Vinay, lots of companies are really doing because of the budget constraint, because of the lack of less of resources, and so multiple reasons. But according to Agile, at least the same person should not wear these two hats. Scrum Master can be a project manager, Scrum Master can be a senior developer, same product owner can be a project manager or a senior developer, but same person, if wearing both hats, then it's very difficult to execute in these two roles. So that's the reason it comes as an anti. This is the next we have. I'm responsible for the team's metrics. Anyone can relate anything, what it means.
I think
I'm a Scrum Master and I'm responsible for the team's metrics, for the team's performance.
yeah. So everything boils down to getting the maximum out of the team and putting pressure and making sure that if they are capable of doing 100 things, we get out of them as 150, and then telling them, okay, us doing 150 is very important because I am responsible for making sure that your team is different and performing excellently than rest of the team. So this kind of mindset and putting pressure on the team, everything is same, like not doing what you are supposed to do but do everything to get um get वो क्या कहते हैं ना, नंबर बनाने वाली बात होती है कि लीडरशिप के आगे नंबर बनाने हैं, तो इसीलिए यू आर लाइक कि ना इट्स माय रिस्पांसिबिलिटी, एंड देन नेक्स्ट टाइम व्हेन यू आर मीटिंग विद लीडरशिप यू से कि ना मैंने उनको एक्स्ट्रा काम भी दिया एंड दे वर एबल टू गेट इट डन, देखो आई एम वेरी गुड एट व्हाट आई एम डूइंग.
Yes, that's the reason people are, especially the Scrum Master, are focusing on only on the numbers. They are saying if your team is working something and if they only deliver, let's take an example of any of the metrics. If your burn down is not look as expected, like for the 4 days and 5 days already passed into the sprint, and there is no work burn till the fifth day, then generally Scrum Master says, guys, you guys are not doing a good work because there is nothing burned. You have to be at least burn every day some stories and some work so that we can at least see a nice presentable graph. That's the mindset generally Scrum Master have. But if in the same scenario, Scrum Master understands why the team is unable to uh, burn the work according to the expectations, if he or she knows the reason, and if instead of focusing on the metrics, if he or she focus on the real problem, that helps the team to at least come on the track on day 6 and day 7. But generally Scrum Master are only focusing on the metrics because they're presenting those metrics to the stakeholders. So they are presenting in front of the team. I am responsible, I have to talk about the numbers. You guys are not joining the leadership meetings, and you don't have any ideas what kind of pressures we have. Instead of talking about all these nonsense with the team, he or she just talk about how we can improve those numbers. Let's bring that same topic in the retrospective, try to create some action items, assign those action items to your team, and then let's see how we can improve these numbers in the next sprint or upcoming sprints. So the attitude from focusing only on the numbers and focusing on towards the solutions and figuring out the root cause of these low numbers is really important. So that's why the word of I am responsible is really an anti-pattern, where we should not use these things when we are talking with the team, right? For team members, it doesn't matter if you are talking to CEO or CTO or a senior leadership. They are only working what they are assigned to. So we have to just talk about that part with them instead of talking about your leadership conversations and the feedback from the leadership stuff, right? This is another we have anti-pattern of Scrum Master. I will assign the work to each team members. How many of you are doing this? Or how many of you are really thinking this is the right way to assign right work to right person? How many of you doing this, first of all? Can you raise hand?
I think it's not, it's even an anti-pattern for a project manager as well.
Yeah, I mean, we are just talking about the Scrum Master. How many of you are doing this? Okay, I can see one hand already raised. Mukesh. Anyone else doing this as a Scrum Master?
I have changed since our classes begin.
Or anyone else face these things when your Scrum Master is doing this? If you're not playing a Scrum Master or if you're playing some other role, have you faced these kind of things where Scrum Master is assigning stories or tasks or bug to each individual? This is also an anti-pattern because the development team is the owner of the sprint backlog, as we discussed in our previous calls, right? So it's their responsibility. They are committing as a team. So it's their responsibility to take the work according to their availabilities and their skills and just start working on those things. Because they committed, if there are 10 stories, they committed those 10 stories to deliver at the end of the sprint. Then, as a Scrum Master, you should not assign the work to each individual. What you can do, if the maximum work which is unassigned, you can just ask in your daily stand-up with your team, guys, there's a story which is not assigned for the last 3 days or last 2 days. Is that really anyone working on this? This is a critical bug, this is a critical story. We have to finish this as soon as possible. So can anyone pick this? So these kind of questions we definitely ask during the stand-up or during any other ceremonies instead of assigning by your own understanding and your own. Yeah, Mukesh. You're on mute.
Yeah, so it's like in my project, it's not completely Scrum. You can say Scrum is like Scrum ban. Okay, so it's like daily some issues will raise, and I think this Scrum Master or the product owner, he decides like this issue should we do or not, or this has priority, and then he select out like which all things to be done in priority, and he used to assign. So
Yeah, but then in
like
that case, that the Scrum Master should only help the team to prioritize, and they should use a separate column of the or the list of priorities, and then say, okay, these are the items we have as a priority, instead of assigning the work to each individual. See, if you have one team members or two team members, you can definitely do that. But when you're working with multiple teams or a team where 7 or 8 team members are working, it's very hard to identify who is really having the capacity or who, because all of them are already working on some work, but you don't know what percentage of that work is finished. Let's take an example. You have 5 developers, all 5 developers are already working on one story. But out of those 5, there is a one developer who almost finished the work and only is just about to close that story. Instead of that, you assign that new critical work to someone who is only finished the 10% of the work which he or she is doing. So what will happen? That person will not pick that immediately. He will only pick once he finishes work. But the other person who's really completed the work, he can pick that and finish it earlier. So that's the thing that's why we think it's team's responsibility. What we should raise it, we should raise the criticality on the priority of those things and let the team decide what is important.
but that also we can see in our graphs or board, right? Like how much, like what tasks are there, what is in progress, how much is left over.
Yes,
So that way, like, he
that's
can
another
select.
anti-pattern. That's another anti-pattern where each individual is only focusing on their own work. When they are saying if there are 20 items in the backlog, and if you only assign three to me, so I will only worried about those three. I know I have to finish those three items in next 2 weeks. That's the individual contributor. That's not a team contribution. Team contribution means we have 20 items into the backlog and we are only working on 5, 15 are left. So instead of 2 are left, 15 are left. We have to support each other and we have to deliver those 15. So the
That is
shift
what.
from individual contributor to the team contributor is really important.
Yes,
Right?
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I think someone else also raised their hand, but now I can't
Uh,
see.
in every team member, there is a senior member, right? Who like
Mhm.
so that person assign the work and they will check it out. If anybody is getting their work completing early, then they can give more work to that person.
Yeah, I mean, see, then that senior person is also part of the team, right?
Right?
So
Yeah.
so they can do that because they know they are working with each other. So they should assign the work. They will say, okay, if suppose you are a senior developer and there are two junior developers are also working with it, you are working with them very closely. You are connecting like twice in a day or like four times in a day. So you know which developer is working on which part and
Mm-hmm.
who can pick this. Or that's a one scenario. The second scenario is the kind of the urgency or the new work might be you know better who out of those two developers who can solve this earlier, who can quickly fix that.
Correct.
So that person really understand the criticality of that particular issue or understand the developers who can really fix that in a quicker time span. So they can align and they can do that. That's why I'm saying it's a team's development team's responsibility, not a scrum master's
Yeah.
responsibility.
So yeah, but in my project, like development team only taking care of their assignment and whom to assign what in the sprint.
Yes, that's works
Not
fine.
the product owner or scrum master. They
Yeah.
just tell these are the backlog will become in a sprint, so you need to check it out which one you can take it up or not.
Yes, that's not the anti-pattern. That's absolutely okay. Okay, then we have the last anti-pattern of the Scrum Master. That's only I can update the board. Anyone face this? This is not so common, but this is generally when we have using any new tools or new technologies or new process. So Scrum Master generally says, okay, I will update the board. If things are not moving from to in progress, I will do that. Or if any team member is lazy, then I can also do this. If instead of only, this is the another scenario is where I will say, okay, I'm a Scrum Master. So if my team members are not moving the items into the board, then I can also do that. That's also an anti-pattern. It's not a Scrum Master's responsibility to update the board. It's a team's responsibility because they are working. What is the happening sometimes? Some stories which are in progress, but if you're looking into their code, the code might be already went to the QA. And because the QA is already doing the testing, they already raised some bug. So the developer already pushed back that story from QA to development. But if you're going with the status, you'll say, okay, this story is already in the QA. So it's in the wrong state. I should move it into the QA. Scrum Master should know these kind of things because the team members understand they are really working and they should be responsible to moving their items. The reason is because they are following the definition of done. It's development team's responsibility to following the definition of done. What is the definition done for the in progress? What is the definition done for code review? What is the definition done for testing or integration or acceptance? So they are validating those definition and done for each and every status. They should do that instead of a scrum master. Other than these nine anti-patterns, any one of you have to clarify any anti-pattern of a scrum master role. Otherwise, we will move to the next. And even or anything which you feel with your scrum master, which you want to discuss, if you are not playing as a scrum master. Everything going good, no issues. Awesome.
Chetan, one thing. How about this? Like a Scrum Master itself start working as a tester,
As a
as a tester, like in a
Mhm.
team, supposed to do his Scrum Master activity. But like even I did there sometime. Like there is like resource crunch. I used to indulge myself in this testing
Yeah.
or supporting them.
So what is question? I mean,
So,
is it what
so
is the
is
question?
this an anti-pattern or we can do this? Like a Scrum Master can do this teamwork, like a developer or tester.
Absolutely, they can do that. Any team member can play the role of Scrum Master or a product owner. Only anti-pattern is they should not play the both the roles,
Oh,
because both the roles are having lot of responsibilities which are conflicting. But a developer and a Scrum Master, same person can play both the role. The only difference which they have to be, it's their responsibility what role they are playing at what time. If they are hosting the retrospective, then their main focus is to wear the Scrum Master hat, because the goal of retrospective is just discuss with the team what are the issues they have, what are the accomplishment they have, what are the learnings they have from the last week or last sprint, and how we can convert those learnings as an action item. At that time, he has to be, I mean, the mindset should be as a Scrum Master. But when that same person is really working on daily routine work, then he might be playing and testing one of the stories. At that time, that person should think only and only from the tester point of view. So you should first segregate where you have to wear what hat, what time you have to play the Scrum Master, what time you have to play developer or tester. Don't try to mix both the things at the one time. That's very important. It's tough, but that's what we have to understand. We have to do that, right? Okay.
Chetan, do Scrum Master have the bandwidth to play another role also? Like because I see lots of responsibilities are there on the Scrum Master. Then also
For example, what kind of role?
for the like the tester role. So tester they have their own
See,
assignment full time, right?
I mean,
Right.
it's very common practice in the IT world where we have a low budget projects where same person is playing both the roles. So there is no harm unless we understand the responsibilities of both the roles and we know when we have to play what. We can do that. See, it's an anti-pattern where a Scrum Master is playing the product owner role. But if you're really looking into the Indian market, I think 20 to 30% Scrum Masters or the product owners, they're playing the same role. Like
Okay.
right now, Neha is also playing the same role. She is playing the Scrum Master come project manager role, right? Mukesh also played the same role where Scrum Master come QA. I also coming from the same background where in the past, when I was playing the Scrum Master role, I was started my Scrum Master journey where I was playing a full-time QA and then part-time Scrum Master. So how I started my Scrum Master journey is the same thing. I joined the team as a QA, senior QA. Then whenever my lecture Scrum Master going on leave or vacations or something, I will try to be the Scrum Master head, and then I will start doing that. And then slowly I move. But you should know at what time you have to do what. You should not mix those. Otherwise, it's absolutely fine. Scrum doesn't say you can't do that. If you really segregate those roles and responsibilities, you can play that role. It's absolutely fine.
Okay.
Okay, let's move to the next anti-pattern. We are running slightly late, so this part I will try to do slightly fast. This as a product owner anti-pattern. Again, we have 9 anti-patterns, so let's uh, try to do quickly. This is the first. I will not require in all meetings. This is the most common anti-pattern of a product owner. How many of you face this? I'm a product owner. I have a lot of stakeholders meetings or client meetings. I cannot join each and every Scrum ceremonies, or I will not available in daily stand-up. I will skip those things. I will only joining once in a week or twice in a week. Any one of you face this anti-pattern?
Yes,
No?
some cases it has happened. It's like because either there are multiple combinations in case if your PO is on site or even if he's offshore, it's like they always say like, okay, it's like only the important uh, calls we would be attending. So yeah, that we have faced it.
Yes. So this is a most common anti-pattern from us product owner roles. What we should do this in these scenarios as a scrum master or as a team member or whatever role you're playing, you should just check with your product owner. If they're skipping like once in a week, that's absolutely fine. But if the ratio of like doing work with the team is like less than 50%, then it's really a tough job for the team to deliver the work. So when your product owner is saying, I'm having a lot of other meetings, I have other commitments, I will not join, we can accept these things as an excuse for once in a while kind of a scenario, like once in a week. But if your product owner says, I cannot join the daily stand-up, if you really need anything, just ping me, then it's an issue. If the product owner says, I already prioritize the product backlog, I will not join the meeting, you guys can just pick the top 10 items or top 15 items and you should start moving them into the sprint backlog and let's start the sprint. Then it's an anti-pattern. If a product owner says, I will not join the retrospective because you guys are really working on that, I'm not working on the user stories, so I can skip the retrospective meeting, this is an anti-pattern. We need a product owner in retrospective. The reason because sometimes our team members are having feedback related to the business. They might be facing their stories are not written well. Their acceptance criteria are not accurate. They have a lot of business queries or uncertainties. They are having a lot of design gaps. So who will answer those things? So that's why we need product owner. When the team members are taking the work from product backlog to sprint backlog, and if their estimations is very high, they can they need an again an alignment with the product owner. Okay, you ask us to take 10 work items, but as per the new estimate, we can only take 4 items. Now, what are the four we should take out of these 10? That's the case where they need a product owner. If they have any business clarity required in any of the acceptance criteria which is not clear, that's the place where they need a product owner. So if your product owner is giving the excuse to attending the ceremonies, you just remind him or her, this is an anti-pattern, and these are the reasons why we need you in all the ceremonies. This is another anti-pattern.
But Chetan, it's
Yes.
like in retro, especially when it comes to retro, it's like if you have the product owner, right, the team might not open up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even that is bit of contradictory. It's like other meetings
Then
and all, it's
then
fine.
this is the one of the action item for the Scrum Master. If your team is not open up, if your team is not
No, no,
raising
no.
the real concerns, right, with in
See,
the retro.
raising concerns, the open discussion what you have, because I'm talking only with respect to PO.
Mm-hmm.
The team is quite open. It's like they speak out, they mention everything. But
Yeah.
having PO in a retro, it's later discussing those points with the PO. Okay, that's fine. But if you have that too, if you have POs who are on site, it's like people who are from either US or
Then
some.
it's an then it's an
Yeah.
then it's a very big anti-pattern. The reason is because product owner is a part of a Scrum team. And if you're saying your product owner is in a is let's take an example. I'm trying to understand. You mean if you have a product owner from a client side and rest of your team is
Yeah,
from your own company. So
offshore. Yeah,
that's the area where you can't openly share the stuff, right? If this is the combination, that means your team is not having the trust in your product owner. And if your team is not having the trust in product owner, they can't deal the risky situations, the tough goals. There are situations where team members have to take the tough calls. But if they have a fear of, oh, if I will take this, then my product owner might not, it's not going in a positive direction, or we might an escalation for the product owner. If the team is having the fear from the product owner that means there's this gap, then again this is a work for the scrum master to just create a bonding between a product owner or a team member, where any of the team member can directly talk to the product owner, or they can openly share the feedback to the product owner. One of the examples, your stories are not well written, they are not following the invest principle, and that on-site product owner is really playing that role. He is writing the stories. Now your team is dealing this issue, but they can't raise this because the product owner is on-site. But if they are not raising this issue with that product owner, then how they will improve? Then they have to deal with the same issue in back-to-back in future sprints as well, and that will impact the productivity. That will impact the quality of the work what they're delivering. So in these scenarios, it's a responsibility of a Scrum Master to just create a bonding between product owners and the team members so that they can openly share the feedback. And if you're keeping your product owner in any of the ceremonies, then this is again an anti-pattern. Product owner, Scrum Master, and the development team, the whole Scrum team is must for and all these ceremonies. There is no optional criteria. Either it's a daily stand-up, retro, planning, backlog refinement, or sprint review. Your product, all these roles are really important, right? Let's move to next. I'm also owning sprint backlog. Anyone get this sense? Why this is an anti-pattern? According to Scrum team, development team is the owner of the sprint backlog, right? Not the product owner. But
Yes.
yeah. Then, but if your product owner says, I am the owner of the sprint backlog, that means I will decide what you guys have to take, what guys you have to work, then this is an anti-pattern. Because might be the product owner has the top 15 priority items. But out of those 15 priority items, there are 5 items which are blocked, which are not in the state where we can really commit the work. But if, because that a business priority, the product owner says, no, we have to take all those 15. So that's the reason, that's an anti-pattern. Might be out of those 15, there are all 15 are related to one technology. Let's say you have a combination of Java, you have a combination of a PHP, and you have a combination of QA. And all these 15 stories are only required Java. You can't take those things, right? Then what you will take for the PHP guy, what you will take for the QA. So you can't commit all 15 stories related to one tech set. So that's the reason the Scrum team, sorry, there's the development team is the sole owner of the sprint backlog. They decide according to their capacity, according to their availability, what they can deliver. But if a product owner is trying to influence the team, then it's an anti-pattern of a product owner role. Then we have another, which is I can't adjust the scope. I think this is very common. We all face. What it means? I can't adjust the scope.
जो दिया है वो ही करना पड़ेगा, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए मर मर के.
Yes. That's the attitude of the product owner, right? And this is an anti-pattern. You have to deliver all the 15 stories. If I say all 15s are critical, then you have to deliver all 15 stories. This attitude of a product owner is really a very negative attitude, which really impact the team. So if your product owner comes in these scenarios, then you have to tell him, like, we have all 5 fingers and all 5 fingers are having different size. So we have a combination of 5 developers, but all 5 developers are having a different kind of expertise, different kind of technologies. So that's the reason we can't commit according to the five developers. Okay, we have 5 developers, let's take 15 stories. Might be one developer can deliver 3, but there is another developer who's very junior, he can only deliver 1 stories. So we have a different kind of a team compositions or different kind of a technologies. So that's why if your product owner is forcing team to deliver as maximum as you can, we have to avoid those things. And the Scrum Master is playing the role of a real shield master here, where he or she try to identify what are the team's capabilities, are they capable to deliver all those 15 stories, and check with them how many stories out of those 15 we can do that. The team says, okay, we can only deliver 12 out of 15. Then it's Scrum Master responsibility if the product owner is not convincing by the team to convince the product owner. It's fine if you want us to take 15 story points, we can take 15 stories, but we will not give you a guarantee we will deliver. And if you are working on all 15 stories in parallel, there are chances we can only deliver 5. But instead of that, if you are only focusing on 10, there are chances we can deliver all 10. So what you want? You want only delivery of 5 stories, or you want delivery of 10 plus we will try to deliver what max we can do. So these kind of a conversations the Scrum Master should bring with the product owner when your product owner come with these kind of anti-patterns. Then we have another anti-patterns where your product owner says, I'm too busy, so expect delays in my response. And it's also again very common when you have onshore product owner or like time zone differences, right? So we'll not get response from the product owner on time. Sometimes we are getting response after 2 days and 3 days. When we have these kind of dependencies where your product owner is not that much active, we have quickly taken action, like which story is blocked for the because of the product owner's response. We should quickly stop working on that and we'll try to switch on the next. So those kind of a quick decisions really required when your Scrum Master or your product owner is giving these kind of responses. And then we can discuss these things in next retro. We can't deliver the story. The reason because we are waiting the response from the product owner to relate it to one business scenario, which is not clear. And because we get the response after 3 days or 4 days, it's difficult for us to deliver this. Or another area where we should highlight these things is our daily standard. Like today, I'm a developer. Neha is a product owner. I asked Neha, this is story, and these are the 3 acceptance criteria I understand. But the 4th one is very difficult for me to understand. Can you just clear what is the expectation of 4th acceptance criteria? Neha says, sorry, I'm busy. I can only respond to you on next Monday or something. That's absolutely fine. We will just raise this as a flag in next day's daily stand-up. I can't deliver this story. The reason because the product owner is not available. So once the product owner is available, I can only deliver the story or this particular acceptance criteria. So I'm moving in this. You can just raise a red flag, mark that story as a block, and then move ahead. And then if the story is not resolved on time, then we can discuss these things in the retrospectives. And these are the very common product owner anti-patterns which we are facing in our day-to-day activities. This is another anti-pattern, the bigger, the better pattern. What it means, the bigger, the better pattern. Anyone have any ideas? What kind of anti-patterns product owners have?
I have an idea. I don't know, I might be wrong. Because a person does not have one anti-pattern. A person has all the anti-patterns, and that's why this is derived from the fact that whatever delivery that we are doing, it should have the maximum feature in it, so that when we are deploying it on the production, when we are deploying on the product, we can tell that okay, a big chunk of work has been done. So the bigger the better, kind of a thing. That is my understanding.
Yes. I mean, you're absolutely correct. Neha.
I have all the I know all the anti patterns from the years of experience.
Yes, that's generally we all facing in our day to day. So that's the another anti-pattern mindset product owners have. So they says, okay, we will not release in this sprint with the reason because we are going to release in next month. Till that time, we will only continuously building the work, and building the work. Let's build all 5 features and then we will only deliver or we only demonstrate to the stakeholders after 5 sprint. Now, why this is the anti-pattern? The reason is that's not what Agile suggests. Agile suggests as soon as you finish a work, let's try to demonstrate it to your client or customer or to your stakeholder so that you will get an early feedback. Now, if you're saying we're only releasing after a month or 2 months, in 2 months, you worked on 5 features. But when you're demonstrating those 5 features to your customer says, these 3 features are useless. I don't need them. I only need these 2. So that means the effort of last 2 months is waste. How we can avoid this? Let's work at one time at one feature. One feature is finished, demonstrate it to the customer and say, okay, this one feature is finished, and now I'm working on this. So next sprint, you will get this another feature. They will also get an idea. And if they get an idea in advance, they can tell you, if you finish this feature, I think that third feature we can skip for now, because majority of the third feature we already covering with this scenario. So let's deprioritize that. Instead of that, we can pick something else. So these kind of feedback are really helpful to just save the waste of money of the team, waste of the time of the team, waste of the planning of the team. There are lots of wastage we can cover, right? So that's why this mindset of the bigger the better pattern is really harmful from a product owner point of view. That's why it's an anti-pattern. This is the another one. I can cancel the sprint anytime without consultation. I know this is very rare scenario. This is not a common one. So generally, product owner is the one who is having the authority to cancel the sprint. The reason, because at the end, the sprint goal, product owner who is demonstrating that. But why it's an anti-pattern is they should check with the team why the product owner is canceling that sprint. They should share the same instances with the team. Try to take the feedback from the team. Let's take an example. Why the product owner is canceling these things? Because we are deviating from the sprint goal. If you're deviating the sprint goal, then there is no point of working on that particular thing. But might be if you're having 15 stories and 5 stories are already developed, if the product owner is checking with the team, okay, guys, tomorrow I'm canceling the sprint because rest of the items we are not going to work. We are going to work on something else, which we are starting from next Monday. But if you're discussing with the team, your team says it's fine, but we already finished the 5. Can we release those 5? And then let's stop to work on another 10. And then once you're canceling the sprint and when you're starting next, we will do that. So that's how you're also just checking with your team. They will also feels they are also contributed in the success of the project. That's also one of the patterns. It's not that big, but it's a pattern. This is another anti-pattern. PO can estimate stories. And this is also a very big and common anti-pattern, where your product owner comes from a technical background. They have technical understanding, knowledge. They are trying to influence the team. And for example, is your team says this is a one story, and team says we need 5 story points to deliver this. But your product owner says, why you need 5 stories? We can deliver it in 3. I delivered the similar work in my previous project, and we deliver these things in 3 story points. Why you need 5 story points? It's not the product owner who's really working on the stories that time. It's the team who really working on those. We should not go. What product owner can do? Product owner can say, we delivered this in the previous project in 3 sprint. Can you just tell me what approach you guys are taking, which takes 5 story points? It's just start a discussion. Team member says this is the approach which we are thinking, and that's why it looks 5 story point. Now product owner can say, this is another approach which we can try. We might reduce, and because of those discussions, the team can also align. Oh, they said, oh yeah, it's a nice approach. If we are going with this approach, then I think we can also reduce it. So instead of forcing your estimate, just give them another alternative path of a solution, because you are coming from a technical background. So just sharing your knowledge. So that's how we should do that. And we should avoid giving the estimate. And if your product owner is also estimating in the planning poker, that's also an anti-pattern. They should not estimate. Then we have a last anti-pattern of the product owner, which is never-ending product backlog. This is in a mindset of the product owner. Whenever the business wants anything, they just create a story or an epic, put it in the backlog, just increasing their backlog. Might have 6 months back, you might have only 10 stories. Now after 6 months, you have like 500 stories in the backlog. So out of those 500, might be there are something which is really critical, which really business wants. So if your product owner is not refining your product backlog, if they're not prioritizing, if they're not deleting the stuff which is not required or which is completely deprioritized, so it's a he or she creating almost an infinite kind of a backlog which never ends. and each and every project have some kind of a budget constraints. So we have to be deliver maximum to maximum in during that budget. So that's why if your product owner is creating 1,000 stories in the backlog, we just stop that practice and we ask them, can you just prioritize? Can you just delete something which is duplicate, which is not required? Can you create a low priority epic, and can you move the items into the low priority epic so that we know all the stories which are coming under this epic is not relevant. We can take that once we have a all the critical or important part developed. So that is the another anti-pattern which we have to do. Anyone have any queries on concerns on product owner anti-pattern? Or if you have anything which you want to discuss.
I have a concern.
Mhm.
Yeah. So this person who I am working as is a product owner, and he is the implementation specialist for the product that we are building.
Mhm.
So he constantly talk to client and understand what are their requirement, and then based
Mhm.
out of that requirement, he let us know what needs to be the part of the feature, and
Mhm.
based on that requirement, we create our stories and tasks and everything. But that person is like, he, because he has a lot of other responsibility and he's client manage facing and all, he only gives us the bare necessity or information, and then once we decide on features and everything, he's fine with it. And when we build on something, and then when we get it reviewed, he says, okay, this is not the way it should be. Can we add this thing, can we do this thing, can we add on this thing? So so what is happening is, my product owner is not the end, like my boss is not my product owner, right? So what happens from the third person's perspective, he thinks that this guy did give everything to us, however we are the one who are delaying the development and pushing the development, and it's getting difficult for me to tell the third person that it's not that my team's velocity is slow, it's just that I'm not getting the right information from the guy that you have given me to get the features from.
What you tried till now.
So I have given him the Excel sheet to the product owner, like, okay, you don't have time to constantly give me features. Then, as and when you're interacting with the client, write down those features that you think we should work on in the future, because it is very difficult for me to insert any change request that you come up within between a sprint that I've already planned. And additionally, I have asked him that he should do the research at his end, that what his customers are looking for and what they need, and then come back to us, rather than letting us know that, okay, we need this feature. Now you do the research that what are the other competitors are doing, and we should work on it, because we are not dealing with the competitors, we are dealing with the customers that you are dealing with. So you should come back with the features that your customers are looking. But he's not responding. It's our duty to do the competitor analysis and get the features that could be part of our module. But he, even if we come up with the list of features that we think that should be the part of module, and he will be okay with those lists, but once we build it, he will come back, okay, नहीं मेरे client को ये feature नहीं चाहिए, मेरे client को तो ये चाहिए था. हाँ, तो अभी it's like I'm bitching about that person, but how should I make him understand that
It's
he's
it's it's
responsible for
it's very
it?
it's very common. It's very common. See,
That
there
he,
are
yeah,
there are
please go ahead, I'm
multiple
done. Yeah.
there are multiple options to deal with these kind of a persons. The first thing is, whenever you're getting any kind of a requirement in terms of in an email or something or whatever is it, the first thing what we can do is just try to create a dummy prototype of that requirement, and just try to get an approval from that same person if he's the real client facing guy. Okay, this is what you want. Just create on a pen and paper, and just create a rough draw and just say, okay, this is how it look like. Are you fine with this? If you're not having any specific designer in your team, if you don't have that much of budget to hire a specific designer who will do all of these things, this is a small thing which you can do it. Whoever is really finalizing from your team side, just create a rough dummy data, send that rough dummy image to that to that guy, and they say, okay, This is what you're expecting. This is what we understood from your expectation. Are we aligned? And if he or she says, no, I'm not aligned, these are the changes which I need, then it's an easy for you to do those changes instead of start developing those. Just create a rough dummy prototype and just get an approval. That's the one thing. Second thing is try to take everything in written. If you are following any kind of a tools, either it's a Jira or and something else or Excel, try to take the feedback on those areas. If you're creating stories, try to ask him to just, can you just comment? This is what we understood. Can you just add your comment? Are you fine with this? And then in that way you have whatever you're working, you at least have a written approval from your the same guy who's a client facing. And then you can, once you're done, you can share the same thing. Even after that, if you're doing, then you can easily escalate to your manager or boss. See, this is the gap, how we can fill it. Now, this is another stage. If still after doing all of these things are not resolved, that means your team is really need someone internally who can translate those requirements into the real visualizations. Then you need someone in the team who can do all those research, analysis, competitor or something. Then that part you have to solve internally with your leadership. Okay, this is the thing. Even we tried all of these things, but still the thing is not resolved. Let's try do one thing. Let's try an analyst within our team for a part-time basis or something, and that person will do all these analysis, research, competition, market validation, and then we will develop those things. That's another option which we can try.
And what, how do people manage the office politics now that I am working remotely? That guy that I am working is somebody who is working in office with the direct contact with the owner, let's just say my boss. Okay, now he's constantly, you out of sight out of mind kind of thing. So it's very difficult for me to have a conversation with my owner, boss, that this guy is lacking in terms of in feature development requirement, giving in feature development. So how
See,
to handle this office politics thing
see,
remotely?
there is no solution for those kind of things, right?
Okay, I
But
have to
what
take
we
it from
can,
the pinch of
yeah,
salt.
yeah, what we have to do is we have to make sure from our end we are doing good, or
Okay.
the best practices. When you're doing all these conversations as an escalation with your manager or your boss, make sure you have all those evidence why you are raising this as an escalation. You should have the written material. These are the 10 bullet points why I'm just raising this discussion right now, and these are the areas why. That's why I'm connecting with you and I'm sharing the feedback. Once you're going and discussing on the basis of the fact, then no one in the organizations can say this is office politics or you don't like that person. That's why you are doing. No, you have the valid proofs. That's why you're doing this. You're sharing this. But even after that, if things are not resolved, then that means things are not in your hand. You have to figure out. There are other approaches. You might change your project, change your team, change your company, because there are certain areas where which are things are not in our hand, right? Might be your boss or that person, they are very good friend, they have very good bondings. No matter what proofs and things you're sharing, they will not accept that. Then those things also come back to you. Okay, so I'm not saying this is the best way or perfect way, because that depends on the relationship what you have with your boss or what that other person have with your boss. They might be both meeting at the office on regular basis. They might doing a coffee chat, and that person will also giving the feedback about you, right? So that's why there is no concrete solutions. But what you should try before quitting, okay, it's done, I can't do that. Just try, put your effort, give everything from your side, and still things are not resolved, then leave it. That's not the only company, right, in the world where you can work. So then you can choose something else.
Okay.
Okay, we already slightly late, so let's quickly wrap the two other anti-patterns. I try to wrap up by 8:30 so that we will have another 30 minutes for the discussions. But let's see if I can finish. So this is the developer anti-pattern what we have. And this is very common developer anti-patterns we have. WIP is not for me. Can anyone relate what it is? Seriously?
Work Work in progress is VIP, na? Here, work in progress
Yes.
is not
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
Somebody who does not give a status, he's like, yeah, I started it and I'll let you know when it's finished.
No. Can anyone
No?
else contribute?
Okay.
What is this whip is
It
not for
means
me?
like there is a task ongoing on, but the guy is not present for some time, and this is hold and I like me as a team. I am saying that this is not for me.
Okay, no. Can anyone else want to try?
No,
Anyone?
he is concerned only about his task, whatever is there in work in progress. He is not bothered about it.
I mean, you're slightly close, but
As in not
even
willing to take the other person's task?
no, it's not
No.
that.
Okay.
Any other guess?
So we haven't experienced it, na?
We still have
Right.
Anomita, Megha, and Shweta. Let's see if they can guess.
So many tasks which are in progress.
Yes, that's the thing. Whip is not for me. So some of the team members, they have attitude. They are working multiple items at one shot, right? They are in panel working on 3 items, 4 items, 5 items, and at the end, they are even not delivering any single item.
Oh,
What attitude they have? Oh, I know I'm having 5 items in my plate, but this item I 90% complete. Second one is 80% complete. Third one is 70% complete. Fourth one is I am about to start, and I will finish all 4 items by end of this week. What is happening? By end of this week, that guy is only finished the fourth item till 90%. Now, what is the outcome is? Five first item 90%, second 80%, third 70%, and fourth is 90%. Nothing delivered. And that's a very common practice. So instead of saying I'm working on 4, let's try to finish that one task first, which is 90%, and then move to second. There are some instances where it's not practical. You might have one thing which is 90% complete, but to achieve that rest 10%, you need some assistance, and the other team members or the product owners or someone else is not available. That's why you put that on hold. And that's why you start working on the second item. That's absolutely fine. But if you are doing this thing, the first thing is definitely you're not all the tasks are blocked. Right? Might be one task is blocked. You're working on second. Let's finish the second. Once you finish the second, then you will bring the third. So some of the team members who are having the attitude of taking so many work in parallel, and at the end they're not delivering anything. So this is an anti-pattern of a developer. We should have generally we have if you have 5 team members, we are saying we have a web limit of 7. That means each 10 team member are taking one story at a time, and then one extra stories if someone is blocked. So that's why we should follow that rhythm. This is another one we have. I will choose work according to comfort. Can anyone guess?
Yeah, this is also it's a common one because normally it's like everyone wants to take the ones which they have worked and which they are more comfortable. They don't want to take anything which is new and challenging.
Yes, that's also a very common anti-pattern where people are only taking the work where they are saying, okay, this is the work which I did in my past, so I will take the similar one again and I will deliver it. But if we are only doing a similar kind of a work back to back, back to back, back to back, we are creating a dependency on the team. If what are the dependencies? Let's see if you are working on some kind of a product base on a mobile application where you have 10 different kind of features. And if you're only focusing on 3 features, there might be a situation where the other person who's taking care of the rest of the features is on leave or something. And there is something critical on those part. Then what will be your first expression or response? I never worked on those features. How I can fix those things? So it's creating a dependency. So if your team members are very choosy to take the work on related to specific work or specific technology, you might have two Java developers, where one Java developer is senior, second one is junior. and the junior one is only focusing on small tasks. He's not exploring the in-depth architect level work. So we should encourage them, and we should also ask them to just take the other areas work as well of the application, so that we will reduce the dependency of the team members. So that's again a big anti-pattern which we have to be avoid as a lead, as a scrum master, as a product owner. If you have any team member who is having these kind of attitude, we have to work on those things as in one-on-one discussion, or to just shuffle the work between the team members, ask them to take a different work. So we have to do those kind of exercises.
It happen in a testing team also, like if they are doing on some test cases and some person is on leave, then they don't want to take that person test case because they don't know the functionality or feature of that particular.
Yes. Yeah. So that means they are only living in their own comfort zone. We should not have. If you're working as a team, then whole product is your responsibility, not the one feature. So that's the developer anti-pattern. Then the another one is I will not responsible for board update. That's I already discussed, right? So we are saying Scrum Master or product owner is responsible now. Developer is having the responsibility of update the board. If things are in to do, in progress, or in QA, if they are working, then they have to update the board as well, so that everyone, the other team members are also aligned. For example, there are 3 stories. Story 2 is dependent on story 1, and story 3 is dependent on story 2. And now everything is in to do in the board. Might be story 1 is done, but it's not updated. So the other team member who's supposed to take the story 2 and story 3, they are in the assumption until unless story 1 is not done, I can't start. In reality, story 1 is done, but in board it's not updated. So the story 2 and 3 will never pick up. So that's why the updation of board is the team member's responsibility, and they should do it on regular basis. That's also one of the anti-pattern. We should give all these examples when we are seeing these anti-patterns, why they should do that. This is another one. I can change sprint scope without consultation. This is similar to the product owner. The product owner really want to do that, same developer also want to do the change. Example, there is one story where developers start working on that. After 2 days, he realized this story they can't work. The reason is because the dependent work they forgot to pick in the sprint. Like again, the story 1 on story 2. Story 2 is dependent on story 1. So they plan the story 2 in the current sprint, but the story 1 is they plan in the next sprint. So they can't work on this, right? So what they will do is they will take a call, they will move out story 2, and they move in story 1 without consulting with the team. We should avoid these kind of things. What they can do, they will just quickly check with their team members, guys, we wrongly picked story 2, but unless we are not completing story 1, we can't work on story 2. So what should we do? Let's check with the team, with the product owners, what they suggest. If this is a scenario, and if the story 2 is not that much critical or important, let's move that story 2 as well out of the sprint and pick something else which is already in the sprint. That could be another critical, based on the priority, we should do that. But instead of that, if you are taking your call only on your knowledge, that's harmful for an environment where we are delivering as a team. So that's again an anti-pattern. Another anti-pattern is I am a lone ranger. How many of you are having this?
I had an experience with one of the developers that that I can do things at my own, but I said that it's okay, you are good at developing, but if you are not a team player, it would be difficult for me to manage you in future. So there are like developers who think that okay, they are developer, they don't need to, they can be an individual contributor, but in a team you cannot be an individual contributor. You have to act as a team member. You should support the rest of the team, and you should also support the project and not yourself.
Yes. What are the drawbacks we have when we have a lone rangers? The drawbacks is those lone rangers might be very good in terms of the technologies and stuff, but if they are working independently, sometimes there are scenarios and situations where they delivered in a very critical and crucial part, but none of the team member is aware of that part.
Communication
how they
challenge.
can support.
I think I feel
Yes.
communication challenge a
One is
lot.
the communication. Second is when you're working as a team, there might be a scenario where one developer is on sick leave or something. And if you're not working as a team, if you're working as an alone ranger, how you can support your team? So that's really important. If there is something very critical and that person who's working on that critical part is on sick leave or something, that lone ranger should support the team. And he should quickly switch the work. Okay, if this is a critical one, I will take care of this. So that communication, that support is really important. The constant learning is another blocker if you're a lone ranger. What benefit we will get if you're doing a pair programming or a team development is whatever you're doing, if you might be a perfect guy, your learning, your knowledge is really helpful for the other developers as well. If you're sharing, they can also learn from you. These are the blockers if you are a lone ranger, and there is no place of lone rangers in any scrum team. If you're working as a freelancer independent, then absolutely fine. Then this might be your one of the best skill. But when you're working as a part of the team, then this is the worst skill, which really a biggest anti-pattern or a blocker for the team. Then we have another one. Superior in knowledge. It's also an anti-pattern. Anyone face this?
Mm. They don't want to show off so that they don't get extra work.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
one of the reason. Uh, there is another reason. What we have is, it looks, Neha, you have all these experiences. Okay. The reason of the statement is I'm superior in knowledge is these all are very small work. I'm an architect guy. I will not develop these kind of a small work. Okay. This is not my type of work. If you are an architect and if your team is really having 20 small work, then you should support your team. That's the definition of teamwork, right? In this sprint, you might have 25 small changes where you have to do 25 text change. Because you are an architect, you are a senior guy, you're saying, oh, what? I'm an architect. I will not do this text change and these kind of things. So this kind of attitude is really harmful for the team. So we should not have these attitudes where you say, I'm a superior or I'm your senior, you are my junior. If we have a conflict on an approach, then you have to listen me each and every time. Might be the example is your architect, the same senior guy is saying approach one is good for that particular story. The junior guy says the approach two is also a good approach to do to deal with this. If you have a senior, you will say, no, no, my approach is good and will go with this. If you're going with these kind of attitude, your juniors are never sharing their experience and their knowledge. They will say at the end, whatever the senior guy suggests, we have to do that. So why I should suppose to share my thoughts with you? Let's ask him directly, and whatever he says, we will build it. So the junior guy will never grade themselves. They will never vocal. They will not never share their own ideas. They might have very uh, like knowledgeable or quick ways to work the similar work. Where the senior guy is coming from a traditional mindset and the approach which he or she might be discussing, it taking days to be developed the same thing. So that's why we should not have that attitude of I'm senior, I'm superior, so you guys have to do, or I have to only take a specific kind of a work. So these kind of attitude are really harmful for the team. Another anti-pattern is I'm not responsible for team goal. It's related to the Lone Ranger. If we, as a team, if we committed 15 items, I am only taking the 3 items which are assigned to me. I'm not bothered about the rest 12. If we have these kind of a mindset, that's also a failure for a team. This might not be a failure for that individual, but as a team, if we committed to deliver 15 items and we only deliver those 3 and rest 12 are failed, that means we fail in our sprint goal. So that's why this kind of ownership of taking an individual work commitment or the team's commitment, that's really important. So if someone says I will only responsible to those 3 items which are assigned to me, we should try to work with those individuals and try to give them an insight why what kind of a team players we need in our agile team. This is another anti-pattern. I am a dev, not a SN. Scrum Master. Can anyone relate? You are coming from a QA background. I will tell you what it is. Might be you have a refinement in another, like tomorrow you have a refinement meeting or a retrospective meeting, and your scrum master is on sick leave. What you will do? Should you cancel that meeting? No, right? Someone from the team just drive that meeting. You're already doing the similar thing in the past. You already have an idea how we should do that. So if you have no, I'm a developer, it's a scrum master responsibility. I will not do that. If scrum master is not there, let's cancel that meeting. No. If scrum master is not there, let's try to do that as a team. How we can do that. We know we already did the similar thing in the past, so we know what scrum master is really doing during the retrospect. So any of the team member can be as a scrum master, right? And we can still deliver that. So that's the another anti-pattern. Then we have this, I must follow manager's instructions, not team. When you have a manager outside your team and your manager is asking to work on something, but you already have some team commitment. So you prioritize your manager's goals instead of the team goals. That's also an anti-pattern. If your manager is outside your team, then you have to inform your scrum master, like you're getting this request from your manager. And if you're working on those requirements, it might be a risk of your team's commitment. Then let your scrum master to discuss with your manager and try to deal with this. But you should be more open and you should be share these kind of situations with your scrum master, and then let him or her decide how they really want to do that. Okay, anything else? Otherwise, we can move to the Scrum team anti-pattern. Okay, this is the first Scrum team anti-pattern we have. Not require sprint goal. We already discussed, right? Sprint goal is very important. And if the team is not aligned with the sprint goal, example is your sprint goal is to deliver the login page. That's your sprint goal. And if the rest of your team is only figuring out what kind of authentication is best, and let's try to figure out the authentication part within the sprint, that's done. No, that's not the goal to finalize the authentication part and login. Now, the goal is we have to deliver the login page. So we have to be aligned. If we are stuck at some places, what is the impact on the sprint goal? How we can deal with these kind of situations? What that's very important as a Scrum team. So now all these anti-patterns are not related to one person, are related to the team. What are the issues we have in as a whole team? Blindly follow product owner's vision. Most of the scenarios where product owner is the one who's directly interacting with the client, and the team members, they are not giving their own ideas, suggestions. They're only working what the product owner is, what kind of stories the product owner design. The whole team is blindly following those instructions. If you have some team experience, you already work on similar kind of a domain, and if you see something where definitely if you improve something will help, you should bring those ideas. You should bring those things with your team. Like this is the one requirement product owner want in this particular area. Let's take an example of a login page. There's a login page where you need or a sign up page. You're creating a sign up page where you need a username, email, phone number, first name, last name, location, and then only a person can sign up. But in the market now these days, you can directly sign up through your Instagram, Facebook, Gmail, or Microsoft 365. There are different other quick ways, right? How a person can sign up. But if a product owner says, no, I need a common form for a sign up, there is a registration form where we need all those information, then we are creating some kind of a blocker. Might be the number of people who are registering are minimum because of the long lengthy form. Or we can reduce this. What is the benefit you will get if you're directly getting the sign in through the Gmail or through some other platform? So those kind of ideas we should share. We should not blindly follow what the vision of the single person has. Thus, we have hardening sprint. Anyone knows what's the meaning of hardening sprint? Are you hearing first time?
To have hardening sprint, right?
Yes.
सुना तो है, याद नहीं आ रहा मुझे.
Okay, hardening sprint means you're working on a product from a very long time. Now you know in your product you have 500 bugs. So let's do one thing. next sprint, we are not working on any user stories. Let's just take bugs. We are only working on bugs. That's a hardening sprint, where your focus is not towards the business. Your focus is toward to improve the quality. We should not have these kind of decisions, right? As a team, if we have 500 bugs, let's try to say, can we take 40% of the sprint capacity on the bugs and 60% of the business? Because in reality, business wants some kind of a output from the team. If you're only spending like 2 sprint, 3 sprint only on the bugs, then business will not get any additional value from the team, right? So until unless these kind of decisions are not coming from the client itself, we should not take these kind of decisions. Let's take, let's create bug sprint and we'll only focus. Then this concept of sprint zero, that's also an anti-pattern. What is sprint zero?
It's kind of research and like or some type of POC which you want
Yeah,
to that
but
particular.
then why we are calling it as sprint zero?
Because at that time
Again,
we have not
no
started
development is
developing.
happening.
We are just planning and discussing on the ideas of.
Yeah, but then we call it a sprint one as well, right? We will say in sprint one, we will not, we are only doing the planning and stuff. Why we are calling it sprint zero? There is no concept of sprint zero.
Yeah.
So that's a sprint one, right? Sprint one means where we are doing the POC, spike or investigation discoveries and stuff. And that's really giving in a value to the product. It might not giving in a direct value. We can't demonstrate anything to the product or to the client. But if we are spending 2 weeks or 3 weeks something to finalize our architect, it will just create, we are just creating and finalizing a base. So instead of saying it's an sprint zero, why zero? Because we are not delivering any business value. So we're calling zero, call it one. There is no concept of sprint zero. So that's also an anti-pattern. Then we have discover. Discovery is not part of scope. What it is, every time we are only focusing on user stories in every sprint. We are not creating spikes in the sprint. So that's also an anti-pattern. In each sprint, you should have at least some capacity reserved to do investigation for the future work. For example, might be you have a new feature in the upcoming sprints, not in the current sprint, in upcoming sprints, where you have to do some kind of a payment integration of some kind of a payment, third-party payment in your application or in your project. So how you can do that? Can you directly create a story? Can you start working on that? No. We need some spikes. We need to do some R&Ds. We have to identify what technology we can use, what kind of third-party payment system we can use, what kind of API integration we need, all these things. And another thing is you have to figure out, do you really have someone who having all these experience in your team? Or this is a completely new horizon where you need to hire someone to do that. All of these things need some research and investigation. So when you're working on your current work, and if you know in the future you are having these kind of a work expected, you should reserve some capacity to do some kind of R&Ds and discoveries. So that when you're coming these kind of a work in the future, at least you have some plan. You know how to achieve these kind of new requirements. So in each and every sprint, you should have some room to the continuous discovery. So if you're saying discovery is not part of the scope, there's then again an anti-pattern. Missing definition of done and definition of ready. This is also a very important anti-pattern, which is very common. We are moving things into done. We are saying, okay, it's testing is done, it's done. But if in your definition of done, if there are 10 criteria and if only 9 pass, 1 is failed, that means still it's not completely passed. So until or unless your all the 10 criteria of definition of done is not passed, you should not move that story in done. And it's very common mistakes which generally we are doing. So we never miss a definition of done or definition of R. Then we have daily communication channel is distributed. We are getting these kind of a feedback, like we have too many channels, team channels or Slack channels, where people are doing a discussion, and this is a disturbance for me. So we should, what you can do, there is something, some channel where you think is your contribution is almost zero, you can mute those channels. There's another ways, right, how we can do that. But you should not have this kind of mindset. There are too many communication channels, and that's why I'm not using Slack. But because of one channel, you might getting a lot of disturbance. But there are other channels where your input, your awareness is really important, so that you can support your team. So that's why this is also another anti-pattern. When we have too many meetings, we are keep hearing this anti-pattern, like people saying there are too many meetings when I will do work. Right? There are so many ceremonies, retro planning, daily stand-up, sprint review, when I will do the work. This is also one of the common anti-pattern, right? So what we can do is when we are doing a sprint planning, at the time of sprint planning, we are reserving some capacity for these ceremonies. So if you have a 10 days of capacity, and if you calculate 2 hours of 2 hours of sprint planning, 1 hours of retro, 1 hours of sprint review, and 15 minutes of daily stand-up, which is comes as a 2 hours total in 10 days. So the total calculation of all these ceremonies is 2 days. Or I think 1 day in 8 hours. So it's 1 day. So when you're doing your commitment or your planning, you will commit according to 9 days. You don't need to commit according to 10 days. You should commit according to 9 days, because your 1 day capacity is going on these ceremonies. If you're doing a 9 days or capacity planning, and then if you're hearing these kind of things, too many meetings, then you can convince your team. But you're not committing according to your 10 days, you're committing according to your 9 days capacity. So all these meetings and ceremonies, we already reduced from your work. So you should not have these complaints. This is also very common anti-pattern we are hearing from the team. Then the last one is new members will be pro in days. What it means? We have these kind of expectations when someone new is joining the team, right? Because we have a very good understanding of the product, because we are working from years or months, what assumptions we have, if I will give him that KT, he might be doing this with the same speed what I am doing. Might be after a week he can deliver. No, it's not that possible, right? It's a month for you to understand the product, to understand the process, to have the understanding or the communication between the teams. But that new guy, everything is new for him. Everything is a new challenge. Communication is a new challenge. Trust is a new challenge. Understanding the existing code is a new challenge. How the team members are reacting to understand that part, or a geographical challenges. So the lot of things which are new for that new team members. So as a team, we should give some support. We should give that new team member some time to adjust in this new environment. And instead of expecting the outcome from the first week or from the second week, it's not a right expectation. We can do that. After a week you can expect, but you can only expect 10%. After 2 weeks you can expect 20%, 30%. Slowly you can, might be after 2 months you can expect 100% what you are doing, he can also do it. Even the 2 months is a shorter time period. So those kind of expectations from a new joiners is also important. New joiners might be new joiners in a organization, or someone who is part of organization but new in your team. So this is the what is the anti-pattern of a team which we have to avoid. Anything anyone wants to discuss? Otherwise, we only have the last one, which is organization or stakeholders anti-pattern. For stakeholders, everything is emergency. If they have 10 items, all 10 they need next day. All right. But we can't deliver all 10 items in next day. So when you have these kind of requirements, it's a responsibility of your Scrum Master and a product owner to just try to convince your stakeholders what is possible according to your team's capacity, what they can deliver. So this is a very common anti-pattern from an organization point of view. Another one is direct request with devs. The one example is where outside managers or outside team members, they are trying, because they are very good connection or bonding with you, they are trying to reaching out, or they are trying to understand with you. They're saying, okay, I'm struggling with this work. Can you help me? Can you deliver this, or can you develop this? But those work is not part of your team. So if you're getting too many requests from the stakeholders, from the client, from the managers, which impacting your sprint deliverables, you have to be focused on that part and to raise that. That's also an anti-pattern. Another is everything is bug. For the client, for the stakeholders, something is not working. For them, it's an everything is bug. but that's not the reality, right? If something is not worked, there might be that feature is not developed in the production. This might be in progress. So if something comes as a bug from the client or from the stakeholder, it's a responsibility of the team of the product owner to just identify, is it really a bug or is it just miscommunication where client thinks the feature is developed but this feature is in progress or might be coming into the future. So we have to clear those miscommunication with the customer. Then we have changed sprint cycle according to work. We should not do that. We should stick to one cycle. If we are working on 2 weeks, it should be remain 2 weeks. If we are changing to 3 weeks, it should be 3 weeks. We should not change too frequently. Like this time we did 2 week sprint, next time we did 3 week, then we again did 2 week. If we are doing things, it's very hard to set a continuous delivery or a balance with the team. Then another is anti-pattern from the stakeholder org is change Scrum team size. Like right now in this month you have 5 team members, next month you have more work so you get 2 more team members. After 2 months you have less work so you remove 2 team members and you have only 5 again, and then again you have 6, then 5, then 6. If it's too much, too frequent, if you're changing team members very frequently, it's also an anti-pattern. Now what are the drawbacks in this? If someone new is joining your team, they need time to understand. If you're hiring someone for a short time period, like if you borrow some developer from a other project for a month or for a sprint, for that new developer to understand your team's way of working and style, to understand the existing code, 1 week already passed on all of these things. To give him access, code setup, project setup, 1 week already passed. Then that new person will only have 1 week. And after 2 weeks, you're anyway giving him back. So when you have these kind of situations, try to avoid to borrow someone for a week or something until unless it's not an urgent stuff. Like your team member is not having that skill of payment integration. So you just ask someone to help your team for 2 weeks. That guy will come, he just help the integration, then there's those kind of things are working fine. But when you already have 2 Java developers and you just borrow one additional Java developer to just deliver more work in this sprint, those things will never work. And in long terms, they have a lot of complications, which we'll discuss some other time. Then we will only see the final product. That's we already discussed, right? Where the product owner is only just, or the stakeholder, they don't want to participate in sprint review on every sprint or monthly. They will say, once you're done all those MVP, then I want to see this. Then might be you're having MVP delivery after 3 months or after 6 months. And if that stakeholder is coming and seeing the things after 6 months, then he will say, no, no, half of the thing is scrap for me. So what's the point of building in Scrum? If you're building in Scrum, that you should get the continuous feedback. So this is also one of the anti-pattern of organization or stakeholder. Then we have fixed budget mindset, where we are saying, okay, we're only going with this fixed budget. We're not purchasing anything. We are not expanding the team. And the demand is either you have to take new licenses, new database access, new cloud space. So those kind of things we have to, the stakeholders and client understand. Might be 6 months back when you started the project, your budget according to that time, what expectations you have. But after 6 months, your expectation is changed, your scope is increased, your technology is changed, your budget is also changed. So it's a responsibility of your product manager or project manager to convince your stakeholders why you need a flexible budget. Then we have metrics is everything. Generally, stakeholders and organization leaders, they are only focusing on the metrics. Why your team's velocity is going down, why they are only delivering 20 for last sprint, why they are not increasing. So their focus is not toward, if their focus is only toward the metrics, it's also an harm. They should also try to understand if their velocity is constant, why it's constant, how much the team is delivering, what are the benefits they are getting, are they delivering on time, the work of they're delivering, is it a quality work or what? They should focus on that side. And then we have the last one is maximizing utilization mindset. Like if you have 5 developers, just give them work so that they will busy for all 10 days. That mindset is really an anti-pattern mindset. If you have the 5 developers team, and if you know they have a 10 days of capacity and plan for 8 days or 9 days, so that they will have some room for 1 days and 2 days where they can also discuss with each other. They can also improve the quality. They can also do the code review part, and or some kind of other discussions they can do, which is really helpful for the project managers. So never encourage the team to just utilize with the maximum. If they have a 40 hours of capacity, don't plan for 40 hours of work. Just plan for 30 hours of work. Give them a room of 10 hours where they can look into the bugs. They can look into the some other technical depth or detailing and stuff. So these all are the anti-patterns of organization or the stakeholders. Okay, with this, we are done. Any one of you is quite lengthy. Any point you want to discuss?
See, with all the items listed under as an anti-pattern for a stakeholder and organization, what can we do as a Scrum Master or a product owner, manager, whatever role we are having, to make them understand that this kind of a mindset or these kind of anti-patterns are not working out for the team, and how should we approach them to reassess or make changes in their way of working?
So, I mean, there is no concrete answers for that, but you have to highlight like why this thing is anti-pattern. You know the reason, that what are the consequences we have. Sometimes with the leadership and stakeholders, we can't convince them to change their mindset, but we can just tell them, we can just warn them, if we are going with this attitude, these are the consequences we might face in the future. Or the current state, why we have a current state, the reason because we are going with this anti-pattern. The one of the example is your team never delivered what they committed. Every time they have spillovers. Why they have spillovers? The reason because every time we are utilizing their full capacity of 2 weeks, and it's a too much expecting. Some we have unplanned leaves, we have a lot of technical desks where they need to align with each other about the implementation approach, but we don't have room because we're going with their 100% capacity. So this is one of the anti-patterns. Sometimes you can raise these anti-patterns in advance. Sometimes what is happening with your team, you can just link those current situations with the anti-patterns and then you can represent. But you should aware of, is it really an anti-pattern or is it something else? That awareness is really important, and then you can just present with your stakeholders and organization and let them decide what is best for them, right? How they can do that. From a Scrum Master or an Agile coach or a product owner mindset, the goal is highlight the things and let the team, if something related to team, let the team figure out. If something related to the leadership or the client, let them figure out, suggest the best way to deal with this. But our expectation from our role is highlight the issues or the root cause of the current problems. That's important. Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, we are done.
So are we getting on any other session after this, or this is the end of our Scrum, or are we going to do a refresher call?
I mean, right now I'm planning to do a refresher with some quiz and something next week. And then we will decide if you guys have any topic to discuss, we will do that. I mean, I have a lot of things to discuss, but that also depends what roles you have and is it really important. These are the things which we discussed till now are very common from a product owner or a Scrum Master point of view. So that part we already clear, right? So let's do a refresher next week and then we will see what are the topic here. But I want to continue these sessions. Instead of 2 hours, we can do 1 hour, and then we will go with the slow piece and small items.
Okay.
And I will share this recording on Zoom. You all can just access with the same Zoom link, YouTube link. Thank you.
I today was fun. I had lot of things to contribute to, and I have a prior engagement for 9 o'clock, so I would like to take a leave.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Chetan.